Salutare, dragilor! Se pare că războiul din Răsita a reînceput. Așteptăm mamă să se dea ei. După comentăm.
Ori sunt constipat, ori am diare. Ce să fac? Pentru toate aceste neplăceri avem Stomacon. Stomacon încalmează rapid toate simptomele dureroase. Convinge-te singur. Redobândește-ți confortul gastrointestinal cu Stomacon de la Natur Pharma. Vă îngrijorează glicemia, vederea neclară, senzația de picături? Asigurați-vă că aveți polimil glicogoar. Îngrijire la puterea a treia pentru glicemie, o vedere bună și nervi periferici sănătoși de la Natur Pharma. Acesta este un supliment alimentar. Citiți cu atenție informațiile de pe ambalaj.
Imediat. Vedem ce zice aici. E foarte important.
Domnilor, continuăm plus matinal. Iată principalele titluri. Au apărut primele ipoteze în cazul morții medicului rezident de la Florida.
Ce nu mă interesează.
Medicului rezident.
Cele două cuze din microfibră și cele două jnururi pentru ochelari pe care le puteți cumpăra la prețul nostru incredibil de mic, de doar 119 lei, vă vom trimite absolut gratuit și o pereche de ochelari cu filtru de lumină albastră pentru a vă putea proteja
Bine că să mai început pe altundeva.
ochii de lumină.
Să fie unul de tranziție, care cel mai probabil va rezista până în luna octombrie. Sunt mai multe variante pe masă, dar una atrage atenția în mod special. Din luna octombrie am putea asista la refacerea vechii coaliții. Asta se poate întâmpla însă doar dacă Ilie Bolojan nu mai este președintele PNL. Lui Hubert.
Bună dimineața, doamnelor, domnilor, bine v-am mai găsit în cel mai jurnal Ore 8 pentru cele mai importante subiecte ale acestei ediții. Victor și rugați cu furtuni.
Facem majoritatea.
Zoom Light Pro este un alt produs.
Hai am o dată, că e 8.
Este o fix. Bine v-am găsit, domnilor și domnilor, în știrile dimineții la Antena 3 CNN. Sunt Andrei Tomescu, iată principalele subiecte. Anchetă de amploare după scenele șocante din localitatea Lucării, unde vă amintesc, un bărbat a deschis focul asupra fostei sale soții și a familiei acesteia. Colonii veniți au ajuns la spital, iar bărbatul a reușit să fugă, dar a fost prins în urma unei operațiuni de amploare a poliției. Este ziua marilor negocieri pentru noul guvern. Premierul desemnat începe oficial discuțiile cu partidele din Parlament, cu o listă de miniștri pe masă și fără discuții deocamdată cu opoziția. Eugen Tomat caută cele 230 de voturi necesare ca să ajungă la Palatul Victoria. Iranul și Israelul au reluat oficial bombardamentele. Sunt atacuri puternice cu drone și cu rachete în mai multe orașe. Se întâmplă fix la 100 de zile de când a izbucnit războiul din Orient. Vorbim pe larg imediat. Cele mai puternice vigilie din acest an au creat un adevărat dezastru în țară după inundațiile care au distrus sute de gospodării din peste 10 județe. Fenomenele meteo extreme nu s-au oprit nici în ultimele ore. Ce se întâmplă cu vremea? Aflați în câteva momente de la Denisați. Autorul atacului armat din Lucării a fost reținut.
Stai să dăm pe CNN, că ăștia tot așa.
Tehran behind me, the skyline of Tehran behind me, did not hear any explosion. People in the west of Tehran certainly did. There are also some reports from a town called Karaj, which is also to the west of Tehran. It can be considered almost a satellite town of Tehran. To the west, that some explosions were heard there as well. It's unclear whether or not those were the same that people also heard in the west of Tehran. The firefighting service here of the Iranian capital has come out and said so far to their knowledge no urban areas have been hit. What appear to be any casualties reported, at least so far. But of course, as we stand here right now and report about this, it is still fairly early going. There are also some reports, unconfirmed so far, coming out that possibly the Marathon airport, which is in the city limits of Iran, might also have been hit as well, but that so far hasn't been officially confirmed yet. The other places that the Iranians say also appear to have been targeted is the area around Tabriz in the north of Iran, which is also a place that does have some military industrial facilities there as well. also the area around Isfahan in the center of Iran. And there, from the local authorities, we are hearing that apparently also no casualties have been reported yet. And they're talking about Isfahan and a place called Najafabad, which is also to the west of Isfahan, but still can be considered to be in the general vicinity of Isfahan. Of course, as we've been speaking over the past couple of hours, Becky, the Iranians over the past days have been saying that if there is what they call any sort of aggression or retaliation from Israel, specifically to the ballistic missile strikes that the Iranians conducted last night, that there would be harsh retaliation coming back from the Iranians. So certainly the Iranians have said that that is something that will happen.
A couple of key questions here, Fred. Firstly, what did the reported targets in Iran tell you about Israeli tactics at this point?
Well, it's very difficult to say. The Iranians so far have not confirmed whether or not any military targets have been hit or what exactly.
Haideți, fraților, cât mai mulți.
Wider area. There are some reports, early reports coming out on some state-affiliated media that possibly a petrochemical facility has been hit. That certainly would be a big blow to any sort of negotiation process. The Iranians had been saying that if key critical infrastructure were hit, that would induce a very harsh response from the Iranians, specifically with their drones and missiles. So we're waiting to see whether or not that happens. Another interesting report that we also got from the Iranians is that they say that air-launched ballistic missiles were apparently used in these strikes. So those obviously having been launched from Israeli aircraft flying in the vicinity or over Iranian territory. That right now is not clear. But in general, the Iranians had said that their latest ballistic missile attack on Israeli territory overnight last night needed to be seen as a warning to the Israelis to stop what the Iranians call the escalation in Lebanon, of course, speaking specifically about Israel targeting areas of Lebanon's capital, Beirut, but then also if the Israelis struck back at Iran, that would elicit a very strong response, a regret-inducing response, as the Iranians put it, from their side. So those are the threats that have been put out, and they certainly are part of the messaging that we've been hearing here from Tehran as we've been on the ground here over the past couple of days.
Good to have you, Fred. Thank you very much indeed. And a reminder again, folks, CNN operates in Iran only with the permission of the government, but we maintain full editorial control of our reporting. Let's bring in CNN's Oren Liebman, who is live in Jerusalem. We spoke this time last hour on sirens going off where you were and some explosions rocking the window behind you. What's the latest?
Haideți, fraților, că ne privește pe toți războiul ăsta din răsărit. Zice că vrea să blochează o altă strâmtoare vitală. Și ce crede că va veni anticrist de aici? Da.
Target that Iran will almost certainly view as something it needs to respond to. So now we wait to see if that's how Iran views this. Shortly before that, we did get a warning of incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire here in Jerusalem. That was the second round here in Jerusalem. The first was right before we spoke in the last hour. We did get a statement from Israel's Magen David Adom, that's one of its emergency response services, saying they were scanning the scene of an impact in the occupied West Bank. They released some video of damage to what appeared to be a home. It appears that's from the West Bank. We'll wait to see a bit more clarification on that. As of right now, though, we do not have reports of injuries from any of the incoming Iranian ballistic missiles, either from the first rounds, which were several hours ago, to the latest round here. But we are clearly, it seems, on an escalation ladder here. And to add to
Haideți, fraților, cât mai mulți. Băgați și voi un subscribe.
From the Houthis in Yemen. Iran had threatened that they could close the Bab el Mandeb. That's one of the other critical waterways in the Middle East here, effectively at the southern end of the Red Sea. It doesn't appear that they have moved to do that yet, that the Houthis have moved to close the Bab el Mandeb Strait, but that is a threat that Iran has put out there. Now we wait to see where this goes. According to an Israeli official, the decision to strike Iran was made after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Defense Minister Israel Katz and other security officials.
Iran amenință că va băga în sus și strâmtoare. Haideți, fraților, cât mai mulți. So we see if he's able to make that happen, in all likelihood, that would be forcing Israel to stop its attacks on Iran.
It is just after 8 in the morning where you are, just after 8:30 in the morning in Tehran.
Era previzibil că va începe război, pentru că unul dintre ăștia trebuie să se prăpădească.
February the 28th, the potential for strikes on Gulf energy infrastructure, given that we now understand there has been an Israeli strike on a petrochemical site in Iran. Clearly a risk at this point. You point out the risk to the Red Sea and the Bab el Mandeb Strait as well. Before I let you go, I think it's really important that we just ensure that we that our viewers understand why
Vine ce mai dă pe Soros TV.
Israeli strikes Sunday on Lebanon, on the capital of Beirut.
Nu vine mă înapoi aici. Ce? Acest că-s morți, mă, nimic. Opa.
Apărarea israeliană a anunțat că a interceptat toate rachetele. Câteva ore mai târziu a lansat la rândul său atacuri. A raportat că a lovit ținte militare din Iran. Explozii au fost auzite la Teheran și în orașele Tabriz și Isfahan. Trump spusese că îi va cere premierului Benjamin Netanyahu să amâne represaliile, din ce încearcă să obțină un acord cu Teheranul. Bombardamentele vin după 2 luni de la implementarea unui armistițiu deja fragil.
باید حملات خود به جنوب لبنان و زاییه را متوقف نماید و در صورت گسترش حملات خود به آن منطقه و یا پاسخ به اقدام ایران با ضربات کوبنده‌تر و پشیمان کننده روبرو و حملات ویرانگری علیه رژیم و حامیان آن آغاز خواهد شد.
משטר הטרור האיראני ביצע טעות חמורה כאשר בחר פעם נוספת בכדור. המשטר מנסה לייצר משוואה חדשה, כאשר הוא מבצע ירי ישיר לשטחנו בתגובה לתקיפות צה"ל בדאחיה. אנחנו לא נאפשר זאת.
Cu trenul pe piața bancară, unele dintre cele mai mari bănci din România
Avem aici.
date de conținut
Dăm înapoi pe CNN. Avem ce face că
about folding Hezbollah and Lebanon into that final peace process or the peace deal as they have said from the beginning they want this to be regional and that very much includes their allies and they had been tolerating Israeli
Haideți, fraților, cât mai mulți.
back and forth, but they draw their red line at attacks on Beirut earlier this week.
Băgați un subscribe.
That Israel was getting ready to attack the Iranians sent a serious warning to the US and then President Trump presumably stopped that attack and then came the attack on Sunday night and then the Iranians I think are drawing that red line with their attacks on Israel and now Israel has decided to retaliate and that's the second part I want to talk about because just hours ago we heard from President Trump coming to the media saying I'm the one calling the shots and it's not Israel potentially he's going to ask them to not attack Iran and just escalate from here so I think there's also probably some pushing of the envelope or testing the water from the Israeli side to see how much they can escalate and how much they can get away with as far as attacks on Beirut, more on Hezbollah, and potentially even engaging with Iran. But this is a risk for more escalation for sure.
So, yeah, so I think what's important at this stage is to nail whether or not, and this you're well sourced on this, whether or not we are in the final throes here of sort of tit-for-tat escalation, call it what you will, before a deal described by Donald Trump as a good deal. He says he's in the final stretch of nailing that. Is he?
Well, I think this in itself is an indication that maybe that, because we know the diplomatic process is also moving in parallel, and Donald Trump wants to exit the war. It's not very clear.
Wiem, czy se wam ten plan.
Concessions that are needed for a deal. Does he want a deal? Yes. Does he want a good deal? Yes. He wants to exit the war. He's done with this war. But at the same time, I just am not sure if the president is prepared to make enough concessions. And one of them is this Iranian red line, wanting to bring Hezbollah and Lebanon into that peace process. And the Iranians are essentially signaling that they're very serious about that. And this is one thing that the U.S. has to accept as part of that. But we know that that diplomatic path has been ongoing in parallel. The Pakistani mediator has been very active. Other regional powers have been pushing for an end to the war. And this is also a pattern we've seen in the past. If the Israelis are not very happy with that whole peace process or with the potential deal, this is also their way of trying to sort of get in or sabotage or torpedo the process, or also see a window of opportunity closing fast and try to seize that before that opportunity ends. It's a little bit of, I think, all of these. But at the end of the day, I think Iran and the US are interested in that diplomatic process, but each of them wants to exit the war on their own terms, and they're still sort of drawing that those red lines. And of course, Israel is a very important component here. It won't happen without the US bringing Israel into that process or putting enough pressure.
And Donald Trump may very well be done with this war. We have a World Cup starting this Thursday. It's his birthday the week after. There's a big UFC fight the week after that. There is the 250th anniversary of US independence.
Haideți cu un subscribe, fraților. Haideți să abonați-vă la canalul de YouTube al unchiului Sam.
Do without this war, ahead of all of these important dates as far as he is concerned. So he may be done with the war. Most experts suggest Benjamin Netanyahu needs this to continue as much for domestic political purposes as anything else. What's your sense of where the decision makers in Iran, whoever they are, let's talk about who they are, Negar, what's your sense of where they are at with regard, the sequencing of the end of this, if that is where we are at this point?
You're absolutely correct, Becky. Donald Trump, like I said, and you explained, is done with this war. Add to that the global energy crisis, which is showing very much here at the pump in the U.S. The summer months coming. This is putting pressure on the whole world, in the U.S., in Europe, among your U.S. allies in Asia. And the Iranians are observing that very, very closely. But at the same time, there's an understanding in Tehran that if the status quo continues, sort of a no war, no peace situation, and the continuation of a messy ceasefire with more attacks on their allies in Lebanon, but also no direct conflict with the U.S., that this may be something that President Trump can tolerate for a little more. He doesn't want conflict to resume. This is understanding in Tehran. And so Tehran is also having a little bit of a risk, a calculated risk here that, okay, if they increase the pain, it may actually push Donald Trump to move more seriously and faster towards the peace process. Because if he does pass, in fact, the summertime and all of those events that you mentioned, and the market starts to stabilize, then the status quo may actually be to the detriment of the Iranian side as far as what they can get out of the peace process. So the longer it goes, it may actually not work to their benefit. That's why they're taking this risk to sort of increase the pain.
Negar, always good to have you. The escalation, it will not surprise you, weighing heavily on the financial markets today. Let's bring up oil, Brent crude trading more than 4.5% higher. That's the global benchmark index, of course, at 97.42 WTI. That's the US benchmark trading just below 4.5% higher. The Asian markets are down on the back of this escalation overnight, Middle East time. All of those markets lower. We are covering here the Caspian, South Korea, the Seoul market there, down more than 6%. The US futures market looks like this. We may assume for that to look quite different as we trot towards the opening of those markets on Monday. We keep a keen eye on those US market futures, an indication of how US stock markets will open some hours from now. Stay for CNN. More on our breaking news coverage afterwards.
Cam atâta, prietenoși.
Why in Gaza? Why is leadership failed here?
China land border, as well as